Alright, this is Jeremy Medeiros down at the Cahow nesting colony on Nonsuch Island, and we've been monitoring all of the nest burrs here, and just about all of the 15 nesting pairs that nest in this new translocation colony have come back. There's only one or two still to come, which haven't laid their eggs yet. So we're going to check the nest that we've been using as the subject of the Cahow cam, and this will be the first check of one of the incubating adults since the egg was laid only about 5 days ago now. And we're pretty sure that this is the male bird that came in a couple of nights ago to change over with the female. If it is the male bird, it's E0212 band number. If it's the female, it's E0197. So what I'm going to be doing is checking the band number first to positively identify the bird. I'll be checking the weight of the bird to see what body condition it's in. Usually at the beginning of incubation, they're the heaviest they are in the entire breeding year. And then with the bird still in the weighing bag, I'll take the egg out very carefully and weigh that as well, because that's a good indication of whether it's a viable egg or not. Sometimes they're undersized and underweight, and they're most likely not going to hatch. Okay, so we'll take a look and see who's home. He's resting quite quietly here. Yeah, certainly. I think that is the male bird, I think. But check very quickly. Ah, okay. I am wrong. This is in fact the female. So the male did not take over. This is E0197. So she obviously was not ready to give up the egg, which is very surprising, actually. So what I need to do is mark that down. So, adult cow incubating egg. Okay, band number E0197. That's why we do this, because there's always surprises. We're learning new things about Cahow breeding behavior every time we handle them, and obviously she had enough fat reserves and such that she said, no, I'm not ready yet to hand it over, and he'll probably go back out to sea and then come back in the next couple of nights to see if she's ready yet. And she'll probably only give up the egg to the male for incubation when she's good and ready. But the next thing I'm going to do is to get her weight. Usually the males are heavier than the females by quite a bit at this time of the year, but very heavy indeed. So that is 405 grams. Now that is extremely heavy. So, and this is why it is exceedingly important to do this. You're really not going to be able to confirm anything unless you band the birds and then you check them out. So I'm going to check her, because this pair has been a matter of contention for some time about who's the male and who's the female. And one way to do it is to externally check their cloaca, that's one way of sexing them, within like a couple of weeks of egg laying. And it's very obvious which is a female. And I'll tell you what, it's quite hard to find in the male. Well, I'll be a bit of a bird patch, a bear patch. It's very difficult to find. Well, this is good because I can actually confirm now, for the first time I've been able to get one of this pair this close after egg laying, and the one that I fought is the female, is actually the male. This is the male bird, and the one that we thought is the male is the female, obviously, which does explain a bit why this one was the dominant one feeding last year. Yep, this is definitely the male bird. There's no sign of an egg being laid through by this bird at all. So that is actually very, very interesting, and now I can confirm, because this has always been an unusually big bird for a female, and this just confirms it. Okay, so I'm just going to put it gently between my legs so it can't go off anywhere, and very gently I'm going to take the egg out, and this is the first sort of sign of the egg in the sun. It's not a big egg, but it's not a real small undersized one too. It's quite elongated. Some of them are quite round. This one's, you know, a bit unusually elongated. It's not. So I'm going to check this carefully. Keep the same side up if possible to see. Okay. And let's see, 70. No, it's bigger than it looks actually. 79. So it's 59 grams. So that's actually good. That's well within normal range. Normal range for a Cahow egg is anywhere from about 53 grams, 52, 53 grams, up to about nearly 70 grams. Say 65 is normal. Anything more than about 63, 65 grams is exceptional. Anything lower than about 50, 52 grams is underweight. So that's 59 grams, that's right in the meat. So that seems like a perfectly viable egg to me. Okay, so we're going to put them in here. There he goes. Fantastic. Now, one of the things that we do with the Cahow recovery program is that I try very much to balance you know, the information gathering and hard research that we need to do to be able to effectively manage the Cahow as a critically endangered species. So I try and balance that with trying to disturb the birds as little as possible so that you're not affecting their breeding success at all. And obviously if you disturb the birds too much, then that could cause them to abandon the egg or abandon the nest for that season. We don't want to do that. So there are different ways in which you can sex these birds. It's very difficult to tell them apart just from looking at them because the feathers are the same, the plumage is the same. It's a slight difference in size usually between a male and female Cahow, but not enough to be 100% sure. There are ways you can take feather samples, tissue samples, or blood samples and get it, you know, the genetic work done on that, look at the DNA and such. And that's a fairly invasive way, obviously. You know, you're sticking things or pulling out feathers and stuff, and that is quite disturbing to the birds. They don't like it one bit. I've opted to go with a much less invasive and quick, non-disturbing way of sexing. It's one that's used by biologists, particularly in Australia and New Zealand, with you know, better than 90%, 90 to 95% success, and that's what's called an external cloacal examination, where basically if you can get them in hand within a couple of weeks of laying the egg, turn them over and basically you look at their rear end. In a male and female Cahow, the external genitals look exactly the same. The only difference is that the female lays this very large egg that's nearly a quarter of her body weight, and when she does, her external vent is very distended and swollen, and it has a white crusty fluid on it that actually acts as a lubricant for the egg as it's passing down the oviduct to be laid, and that stays around the entrance there of the vent for a couple of weeks at least. And the males, it stays very clean and neat and small. So you can basically tell right away if you get them in that brief period after egg laying. This pair, I've never been able to get them that close after because they have been video stars for the last few years. I've just not got them, and by the time I did check, it was too late. The female had already, it had all recovered and such. And so there's always been a bit of a question mark about whether we had the sexes right, but this absolutely clinches it. It's only, about 5 days after egg laying, and the bird that we thought was a female, in fact, proved to be the male bird. And that puts to rest a bit of a question mark I've had over this pair for the last 3 or 4 years. So that's why doing these checks regularly is very, very important. It helps us to figure out who is doing what with who and who's paired up with who, and it helps us in the long-term management of this species. And these are some of the things we have to take into consideration. It's such a critically endangered species. Although it's recovering, the population is still so small that every single pair and every single egg and every single chick counts for this species. They're still producing only about 50 to 60 chicks a year, and every single one is critical to the continued survival and recovery of this species.